Hi, everyone. Glad to see you guys on another interview series with Uzbek Diaspora guest, Shukhrat Iskandarov. A little bit about Shukhrat Iskandarov. Shukhrat Iskandarov has over 10 years of business development experience in the HR industry, helping organizations attract and engage and retain talent through leveraging compensation and benefits data and expertise within total rewards. He helped clients to conduct remuneration benchmarking projects in a variety of industries, including leading companies such as automotive, chemicals, consulting, FMCG, industrial goods, and etc. Shrug currently works at Korn Ferry within the digital products business, focusing on AI-powered KFP solution, which offers comprehensive data and analytics from over 26,000 companies in over 150 countries worldwide. Shrug has a bachelor's degree in economics and has completed his master's degree in international economics at Berlin School of Economics in Germany. How are you doing today?
Yeah, great. Glad to be here actually, and excited at the same time.
How long have you known about Uzbek diaspora?
Probably let's say close to 2 years maybe, because I heard from my friend Bexot.
Oh, nice.
He told
So
me
you're friends
about this. Yeah, yes, yeah,
with
yeah.
nice.
And he
And
told me about this, community actually, and yeah, I joined the community actually, and I've been following you guys closely, and I watched the interviews and like great. I mean, you guys doing a great job in bringing the building the community actually, and bringing great talents together. So I'm sure this is going to inspire a lot of, especially young talents in Uzbekistan who would like to achieve great things in Uzbekistan, also maybe abroad as well.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How is the weather in Germany today?
It's really bad actually. So it's
Oh,
spring.
yeah.
It's almost summer, but it has been raining. Like we get one day of sunshine, and we get like 1 week of rain, which is the bad thing about in Germany. But unless if you like, if you're very romantic, or if you like, this kind of weather, this is perfect. But otherwise, uh, don't expect much sunshine in spring and autumn in
I
Germany.
see. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Let's just get warmed up a little, and I'll be asking you some blitz questions. They require short answers. If you want to explain, go ahead and feel free to explain, but let's take shorter time, just to
Okay,
save some time for more important topics later. Do you
sure.
prefer talking or
What is that?
or texting?
I prefer talking because I'm a sales guy and I have to talk. I have been talking all my career.
I see. I see. What's your favorite city in Germany besides the one you live in? I'm assuming you live in Berlin, right?
I live in Berlin, so I would say like I like that town which is called Garmisch, which is close to it's in Bavaria. Like it's and it's surrounded by Alp mountains, so it's really beautiful.
Oh, nice, nice. Do you often go there, or how did you find out about that small
I
village?
we often go there actually with friends and
Yeah,
also with family. Yeah.
I see. And your favorite holiday
My favorite holiday. You mean overall or
in general,
in general?
whatever
Yeah,
holiday you prefer.
yeah.
What gives
I
you?
like Ramadan holiday, right? It just different kind of
Yeah,
spirit.
yeah, absolutely. Uh, what's your number one rule in life?
Oh, tough question actually. Rules change over time. One thing actually I found useful, which helped me as well. It's which I learned also later. It's just being
Yeah,
persistent, right? If you want to achieve something, you just gotta be persistent. Don't give up. And if you want to achieve something, because motivation is not gonna get you anywhere.
mhm,
The only persistence gets you
mhm.
somewhere.
Okay, so being persistent is your number one
Correct.
rule.
Yeah.
I see. Who has it easier, men or women?
Who has it? What?
Who has it easier in life, men or women?
Oh, this is also a tough question. Yeah, it depends on perspectives, right? But on also societies, right? If you look at some society, or let's take Uzbek culture society, right? it's tough to be a woman in Uzbekistan, right? And there's a lot of responsibilities, right, and
Mhm.
tasks and so on. But at the same time, if you look at from the responsibility perspective and risk taking and all the things men has to do, it's also tough for men, right? And it just it depends, right, depending on which situation you're looking at.
Interesting. Why is it tough to be a woman in Uzbekistan specifically?
No, I mean, it just yeah, it is, especially if you live in rural areas, right? It's just like all
Mm,
the tasks you have to do. You have to take care of your
mm,
family, and if you look at the simple life of a teacher, right, and they have to go work full day, and they have to come and care for their family, and and also they have to check the papers or exam papers the students wrote and so on. It's hard, right? It's just I don't think they get enough rest actually.
I see. I see. How many pull-ups can you do in a row?
Oh, that's I I think now maybe like around 20, because I recently tested with my kids. Like we went to outside the exercising. There's a place there, and I think I did around 20, but it was hard. I could do more.
I see. I see. Uh, okay. Is human life more valuable than the life of a dog?
Yeah, of course.
It is. I see. Do you think living in Europe is better than living in the US? I know that you never lived in the US, I believe.
I
You've been
did.
to the
I did.
US.
Yeah, I lived
Comparison
there a
to
year. I was exchange student there. Yeah.
I see.
Yes.
Nice.
Living, like, let's take, maybe not everywhere in Europe, but let's take Germany, right? I prefer
Yeah.
living in Germany because of the social economic system it has, right? Because
Mhm.
take the unemployment, security. Like if you lose your job, you get the security, you get money actually from the
Mhm.
state until you find a job, and also the medical care, all the public transportation, all the system actually set up in a way that it cares for the working class, right? So that's why
Mhm.
Germany has working class, but the US, there's a there's a huge difference between the poor and rich, and there's a small popular class of working class,
I see. I
which
see.
creates a lot of problem, right? And it's not sustainable.
Yeah. What about the taxes, though? Europe has more income taxes, I
Of
guess.
course, it has tax. That's why you get this socioeconomic, system, right? Which is yeah. And because I'm economist, right, as a background, that's why I'm just comparing this. But
Yeah. Yeah.
for the working class, for the middle class, actually, this is a good system, actually.
This is a better system. Personally
Of course.
speaking, it's a better system for yourself as well.
For that,
Personally speaking, it's a better system for yourself to live in Europe.
of course, for me and for my family, right? And I like
I
it's
see.
less riskier to live here actually than the US. And also, yeah, all
Mm,
the people actually walking around with guns, I don't feel
yeah.
safe there.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like when it comes to PTOs, like paid time vacations, Europe is super generous. European
Of course,
companies in general, I would say.
yeah,
Yeah,
of course,
sounds good.
and we yeah, some companies even get unlimited PTOs, right?
Yeah, that's the term I heard like very recently, and I was surprised. Unlimited, that's crazy.
Which is bad
Uh,
actually, maybe, which is not good for employees actually. But it's
productivity.
a cool term, but you
Yeah,
never use
I
it.
see. Yeah, and what does money mean to you?
Money mean actually free time, right? It just like, unfortunately, there's the wrong thinking. Like, we have a lot of progress, right? Like money should not be important in life, right? It doesn't bring happiness, but it's not correct. Like, it's not 100% correct, right? Of course, at
Yeah.
some point actually it doesn't bring happiness, right? Your family, your community, actually your friends, that's where you're happy, right, at the end. But also money helps you, is a tool actually to buy some time so you can spend with your family, right? It just
Hmm.
equals to free time, like, at the end, which
Hmm.
is also helping you to achieve happiness, right? It's just a tool.
Hmm. Interesting. Uh, is your English better than your German?
Yes,
Hmm,
I have been using English actually whole my career, almost whole my career actually. 'Cause I work with international clients, and English is the main language.
Although you live and work in Germany, you use English more often than German
At work actually, yeah, and it
at work.
depends. Right now actually I'm working in, this is my I joined this company last year, and I'm also speaking in German, so I have to also in German I have to use German, but mainly our main language is still English because it's Korn Ferry's US based company.
I see. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that later. Do you read a lot or listen to podcasts to stay up to date?
I read a lot. Yeah, I read a lot actually. Not specifically books, because books, I like reading books, of course, but I read news definitely. I follow that, especially tech industry, what's happening in AI, and also in my industry, right, the HR industry. I read a lot. I read every day.
I see. And the last two questions: what special qualities do people from Uzbekistan have?
Good question. Maybe I would say, uh, you know, let's say authenticity, right? Because people, like, when you talk to Uzbek people, they're not fake, right? You feel the real energy from them, and because I have I've been talking to a lot of people and from a lot of countries actually. Sometimes it feels like, they are a bit trying to be nice, but at the end it feels it's not authentic, for example. But when I talk to people, anyone from Uzbekistan, it feels real actually.
Interesting. So they're more genuine and open to
Yeah,
talk to people. They're
correct.
sincere. Interesting. Yeah, I could relate to it. So your new year resolution in 2023, at least one of them, if you could mention.
I I I don't usually set resolutions. I used to do that actually, right? And because it just, yeah, but we do it now with my kids for fun, right? So my New Year resolution, we had a list of resolution. Like one of them actually is going to a PSG game with my kid, right? Because they said, I mean, it's their resolution, and it just.
Hmm.
But yeah, there are other stuff as well. But I don't usually set new resolution. It just
Hmm.
I have long-term
Okay.
goals. Of course. I have short-term and long-term goals.
Yeah,
1 year, 3 year, 5 years, but not for every year.
not for every year. I see. I see. You don't follow
It
the
doesn't
tradition of.
change every year.
Yeah, I see. I see. Awesome. Thanks for all the answers. So, number one rule for you is persistence, and you think it's easier for, I think, men in life in general, I guess, right? Because women have more responsibilities. That was the the answer. And money equals time. And turns out you read more than you listen to podcasts. Because it's a trend nowadays. Like people don't want to read because it's maybe time consuming, and they prefer to listen
Yeah,
to podcasts and different things. But you prefer to stick to more traditional ways of like
correct.
consuming information, which is reading books. I see. And Uzbeks are more sincere and genuine than like you know let's not compare, but like in general, that's the special quality that makes
Correct.
them stand out. I see.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'd like to encourage the people who are watching us, who will be watching us in the future, to drop your questions down below, and we'll definitely make sure we'll bring them up and address them. And let's talk about your biography. What did you grow up? Let's talk about you as young Shukhrat. What school did you go to, and how did you learn English and German, etc.?
Uh, yeah, I was born in Andijan, so I
Oh,
grew up in Andijan, and I went to I went to school first until sixth grade, and then I went to Lyceum, so which was specialized in math and physics. So
uh-huh.
basically, then I learned English there. So we were lucky, actually. I always say we were lucky that we had two teachers who went to USA actually as an exchange teacher actually on a program. and they came back to us, and it was a perfect time. Like when I, it was seventh grade actually when I started my studies there, and we had this teacher actually coming back from USA, and they brought a lot of books and a lot of stuff, and they had like special class, and which was really like amazing for us, right? Just to visit this room, and they were both like, teaching us actually, and they were telling us a lot of stories about USA and their experience, and of course they were great, like teaching all the grammar and so on, and also conversational English. So that's how I got interested in English. Then I took, of course, extra classes with this one of the teachers actually, and during 10th grade I applied to there was a program called it was called Excel, so Flex in Uzbekistan. I don't know if they still have this. So they basically it's a program for exchange students. So they sent you to USA to study 1 year. So I went there actually. So when I was studying in 10th grade, and I went to USA for the 11th grade. So basically I graduated in USA, and that's how. Then this elevated my English to the new level, because before I was just more or less doing reading and grammar and less talking, and when I went to USA, it just like wow, it's a whole new level. So just I used my English. I was able to use my English finally, and so I'm always thankful actually for this to the teachers actually who opened the door actually for the new opportunities, because without English I wouldn't be here actually, for example, right? Of course I could achieve something great as well, but this is what I wanted to achieve, and I'm happy for that.
Mhm. I see. So from the get go, you started learning math and physics, right? And
This
it's
we were
interesting.
yeah
Yeah, it's
we were
interesting how you
specialized.
transition from like math and physics into like economics. We'll definitely talk about it later. But
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead. You want to say
no,
something?
we were specialized in math and physics, right? Because we had more classes than the average school to learn about math and physics, right? That's why. But the
Yeah.
funniest thing, the fun fact is just like I'm still am actually interested in history. So I at some point I wanted
Mhm.
to be archaeologist or a historian actually, and I was the only one going to Olympiads from my school to compete in history actually. And like it was funny actually, I was like this school all specialized in math and physics, but I was doing history. But still, of course, I was doing good at math and physics at the same time history. But
Mhm.
anyway, at the end, then I chose economics, which is math related at the end,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I think it was a good decision. But I still read a lot of things in history, and I sometimes talk to some friends who has knowledge. So it's interesting actually, to learn and read about the history, and yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. But very interesting. Your passion for math eventually like won over your passion over on math, physics,
History, yeah.
and history. Very interesting. Uh, why did you pick up math over
No,
history?
the
Um,
like this is what I would say typical. I don't know if this is the issue, because in Uzbekistan, unfortunately, you don't get much guidance from adults, or
mhm.
from your parents, even parents, right? Because
Yeah.
they know, they want you to be, of course, achieve great, but they have specific careers, they have in mind. Say, oh, you have to be lawyer, for example, or
Mhm.
you have to be banker, for example, right? Or achieve something great. And that's and maybe the guidance actually from that, but I was a little bit lost at the beginning, right? Because I
Mhm.
just like, I still, wanted to be historian and so on. And I didn't know. Then and I talked to my parents and so on. We discussed all the options. Like in economics, something was feasible, because for historian, if you study history, what options you have, right? You could be
Yeah.
lawyer, or you could be teacher, for example, or researcher, for example, right?
Sure.
And I wanted to be even archaeologist, right? But there's no opportunity for that, yeah, at all. But at the same
Archaeology.
time, I was good at math, and I was good with economics, and then also this like when I talked to my English teacher, and she said, yeah, just think about long term in the future, right? Because like if you want
Mhm.
to study abroad, what do you want to study, for example? How you can go there, for example, right? And economics had the easiest path, for example, right? But again, I was still interested in economics as well. I'm still interested, but I
Mm,
have
mhm.
probably more passion than history,
I see.
more passion for history than still for economics. Yeah,
I see. Very interesting. Uh, were you an introvert or extrovert growing up?
Extrovert actually. I was always extrovert. Yeah.
Interesting. How do you define extrovert though? What is extrovert for you?
So yeah, if it has yeah, a broad definition, but let's put it in simple way. Actually, extrovert, like just like being more social, actually being able to, or like being surrounded by people or talking to people, right? So just
Mm,
like, for example, being extrovert is like, there are extreme versions, of course, right? But let's
yeah.
say, some people do not want to be alone, right? Like extroverts do
Mhm.
not want to be alone. But if you're introvert, actually, maybe you want to stay alone or you want to take some break from others, right? And of course,
Yeah.
as I said, there are extreme versions of this, but maybe let's put it in the simple way.
I see. I see. Okay. So you never shied away from talking to people as
Yeah,
introvert.
yeah, there were moments, of course, right? But it
Yeah.
it was, I was
And
not shy.
we know you as almost like a sales professional. I think you consider yourself as a sales professional, right? Is that what it is?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I am a sales
And,
professional, and yeah,
see. And that probably like being extrovert prompted you to this path, I guess, right? Being a salesman. Usually that's what
of course.
happens.
The
Uh,
this Yeah,
mm,
of
mhm,
course. This helped me actually. I would say, it's not because it's not the reason I chose this
and,
path, but at
mhm,
least it helped me actually, right? Because in sales, I also during my career I trained a lot of salespeople, and usually, let's say if 10 people comes, like at least maybe two
yeah,
or three of them succeed, because not because in sales actually you just have to be able, like, being extrovert is great, yeah, it helps, but also you have to be able to take the no
mhm,
as a normal part of the job, right? Because not a lot
I
of people
see.
can take this. It's stressful. If you get
Yeah,
a constant rejection, it's not something you want to work with, right? For example, you just want to,
yeah,
a lot of people just want to go to work and do their job and come back to home, right? In sales
correct.
actually it's just a little bit different, like it just always, you're always competing actually, and there's always rejection of wins or
Yeah,
loss, and not every people like this actually. It's like a roller coaster actually, I would say.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. If you were good at one thing, um, like school subject, sport, if you had to pick one growing up, right? What made you stand out? What was the one thing that you were good at? Is that math? Is that what
I,
would be
I
math?
would say I was good at with my memory. I had a
Mm,
really good memory, and that's why I could go to history or Olympiads. I could, and nowadays I am I don't have that great memory, but this was my advantage actually, at school,
interesting.
so I could memorize the like, if I don't know if you studied in Uzbekistan, at school you have to learn by heart the poems actually, right, for example, right?
Yeah,
Or the stories actually, and they ask almost every day, in this at school. And I,
yeah,
like, sometimes I didn't have enough time to prepare. Then I came to school, and it took me like 2 minutes, for example, to memorize this, which I took advantage of, and that's how I, for example, learned English as well, right? So I could memorize the words,
yeah.
and so on, yeah. But
Very interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, I know math requires a lot of memory because you have to learn all the
of-
formulas. And even when it comes to history, you have to learn all these like
yeah,
sequences of things that
correct,
happen. You have to learn the years and
yeah.
everything. Yeah, having a good
I
memory is
would,
all.
yeah, I would say mass would, yeah, I agree with you. And also I would like to add, like, mass maybe requires more practice. Like in history,
Yeah,
as you said, you can memorize the things, but that's it, right? You're not going to practice the formulas there. In math, actually, you're going to apply, you're going to practice, and that's how I would say that's the
yeah,
only way of
yeah.
mastering the maths, right? Not that memorizing the formulas and not using that, then you never will be able to use that
Yeah.
actually.
Any tips on improving your memory? Do you have any strategies or anything that you could
Yeah,
share?
just use your memory actually. That's it. I could, because I think that was, I don't know if I had the natural gift. I don't think I had, but I only advantages, I practiced this, right? Unknowingly, I didn't know actually that I was improving this because I had like I wanted to memorize some, historical events, for example, right? Because I was reading
Mm.
this like at the beginning, I read something and next day I forget, what when was this actually? Then I go back and I try to memorize and I repeat this in my mind actually. I like at some point I learned the constitution of Uzbekistan actually, like
Oh wow.
every word to word actually. Just
Mm.
we had to walk to Lyceum actually like half an hour every day to Lyceum, from home to Lyceum. And on the way I was, I had the constitution on my hand, like I was reading and I was learning actually every day. I had like two, like one page, at least one page I was learning every day, right? So this was a good practice for me for my memory, right? So if you don't practice, it doesn't matter which tool you use. Of course, there are
Mm.
so many tools nowadays you can learn and there are techniques, but the best way is just practicing this, right? On reading, of
Mm.
course.
Yeah, yeah. So practice is the only way. Like keep repeating
Of
uh,
course, practicing
tasks,
and
or
reading.
your memory is
Yeah.
stronger. Okay, so we know that your strength is your strong memory. What is your weakness?
um, my weakness, it's a hard question. It's like interview question.
I know, right?
Yeah, maybe I would like, let's frankly speaking, sometimes I have a difficulty to say no. Yeah. And
Mhm.
I learned great lessons actually that I could not say no in some cases, because learning, being able to say no is also helpful for you and also for people around you, because you just set the
Mm.
barriers actually. They understand that, oh, then he can't do that actually, or he cannot help, or he cannot do this, that. And sometimes it's hard for me to say no, and I try to control this, but still, it's just maybe it's natural sometimes.
Does it negatively impact your job? Like when it comes to sales, you're talking to a lot of clients and you're not able to say no. Does it like
No, no, for my career, no. For my job actually, I never do that actually. Because for my job, I got trained, and I use this special techniques actually for all the negotiation, all the objection handling, and so on. It's not
yeah.
like I avoid this actually too. I try to avoid this
Mhm.
to 100%. But in real life, I mean, like being able to say no actually is something. It's sometimes helpful. Yeah.
I see. I see. Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. Enough about your biography. Let's talk about your academic life, your school and university, your transition from school and university, right? Let's talk about your college years. So you pursued your bachelor's degree at the National University of Uzbekistan. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Mhm. How did you transition from school to university?
Yeah, I just I applied actually. I looked for some universities where I could do economics, right? So I just wanted to do economics, and at the end maybe something related to economics, international economics, as a master's degree abroad actually. So
Mhm.
I think I also applied some universities abroad for bachelor degree, but at the time it's like nowadays it's easier, I would say, but at the time it was so difficult to go abroad to study
Mhm.
actually, especially for bachelor degree, all the things you have
Mhm.
to do and funding and so on. So I studied with National University at the time, so I got accepted and I took this economics
Mhm.
degree. And then after that actually, then I started applying. So I applied to USA as well, to Europe, Germany, Sweden,
Mhm.
and I got
Absolutely.
offers also from other countries. Then I chose then Germany.
I see. I see. Is it still a good university to go to? Is it still a good option?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You mean National University
Yes.
of Uzbekistan? Yeah, it's
Mhm.
the oldest university actually, and
Mhm.
there are great professors there. And
Mhm.
definitely,
I see.
especially if you want to go on the path of research, for example, which at some point that was my point. I wanted to at some point PhD. I mean, it's a great university actually, unless yeah you want to do some business or finance and banks, and then it's not the right one.
I see. I see. Okay. And how did you end up in Germany? And why did you pick this specific university, Berlin School of Economics?
Yeah. So as mentioned, I was I was looking for economics related courses, the degrees. So I applied to many universities actually, also in Germany, Europe, in US. In the
Mhm.
UK, I got some offers from different countries, and like I learned the pro and cons. I made the list. In Germany, and also like I learned the socioeconomic system and how the life here for students and later and so on. And Germany stood out actually. And also one
Mhm.
more thing is I wanted to be in Europe in any case, right? So because I got offers
Mhm.
from USA, and because one of the reasons was football, right? Because like being in Europe or Germany, you get Schengen visa, right? So you get to travel to almost whole Europe, right? Which means I had the freedom to go to any game I wanted, right? Of course, at the time I could I could easily move and go to any game than now.
Mhm.
But this was more, let's say, not the main reason. One of the reasons I chose Europe or specifically Germany, and not because I was not fan of Bundesliga, because my favorite team is AC Milan, and Italy was also on my list to study, but Germany, because of the economic perspective, I chose Germany, and I could
Mhm.
always go back to go to see my AC Milan games, which I did. I actually because
Mhm.
I was there multiple times during the year. Yeah.
Very interesting. Uh, well, you also wanted to study in Italy, you said, right? Is the education system in Germany better than like the rest of the
It
Europe?
is. I would say,
Yeah.
Italy was also on my list, as I said,
Mhm.
because football was also, as I said, small reason. But with the economic system and educational system, I found Germany better, right? And also there was another thing, right? Because if you
Yeah.
study somewhere and if you plan to work there, you have to learn the
Yeah.
language, right? And if you look at the like Italian versus German, right? Even in
Right.
Uzbekistan, you have more opportunities with German language than Italian, right? Or
Yeah.
even French, right? How many jobs would require this? How many jobs I could find, for example, right? And also abroad, right? Anywhere, yeah. So
Mhm.
Germany had better, could offer better opportunities for me.
Mhm. So you met your expectations, right? Moving to
Yeah.
Germany. Hmm. I see. Awesome. And did you enjoy college? And how did you like the German education standards? Did the college meet your expectations? And anything interesting and fun you could share during your college years?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's just like as I mentioned earlier. So, I studied in USA for a year, and the system was, compared to Uzbekistan, it's different, right?
Yes.
And that and I had the high expectations, right? When I wanted to do my bachelor or a master's degree, I wanted to have a similar system, right? And when
Hmm.
I came to Germany, when I started my studies, it's almost the same actually, right? It's similar, I would say, but not as competitive as USA, because the competition is a number one, let's say, factor in USA, but not in Germany, I would say. But the educational system great. I had great professors actually, and I got great knowledge. And also the good thing is, like here, like as maybe also in USA, right? They don't force you to study. For example, you can enter, you can get enrolled to any university, but being able to graduate is something, as a different story, right? Because at the end you have to write the papers. It's some, like, you don't even have to go to classes, right? Sometimes, but you still
Hmm.
have to turn in your paper, right? And the
Hmm.
plagiarism, for example, right, which is also another, the big, actually big challenge, I would say, so for someone coming from Uzbekistan, right?
Yeah.
Because if you write papers in Uzbekistan, you could just copy paste, like you just write.
Yeah.
In here, you have to write your opinion, right? It's a
Yeah.
challenge, right? At the beginning, it was kind of difficult actually. Then I got used to, and it's also great practice for for your creativity, right? At the end, I used a lot of skills I picked up from university.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. So since you touched on the subject of plagiarism, nowadays we have ChatGPT. A lot of people are doing their homework on ChatGPT. And how do you look at it? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Is some
No,
it's another choice, I guess, that that came out recently, and everybody's was focused on it. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about this subject, and they were talking about the honesty and you know these aspects of the education system and how the AI is affecting the education system.
Yeah.
Uh,
It
what's your thoughts on that?
So yeah, if we look at the specific case for education, actually, it's good and bad, right? The good thing is we are, this is the future, right? We cannot,
Yeah,
you can ban this for the moment, but you cannot prevent this, being used by humans actually in near future, right? Because maybe it started, it's it it helps or it shapes our society in different ways actually, but
yeah,
we don't know yet actually how where it's gonna bring.
yeah.
And the bad thing is it like, for example, if you could do your homework actually with ChatGPT and it's acceptable, which means you're not using your skills anymore, right? You're not using your creativity or writing and thinking skills.
Sure.
And I'm afraid that actually in the long term,
Mm,
this would affect human mind, actually, human skills actually in the
mm,
long term, right? Because we no longer write, we no longer read, like even reading, right? Like, ChatGPT can read for you and will make a summary. You don't have to read
yeah,
200 pages anymore, which is bad, right? Because you have to read
yeah,
200 pages, right? The summary
right,
is summary, right? Like reading and writing was one of the were the two of the like main skills actually which took human civilization to the next level, right?
yeah,
We were
yeah,
so like it, then all the innovations came late
mm,
because of that, right? Because we could write
mm-hmm,
and we could communicate properly, for we could read.
mm-hmm,
But I don't know what this is gonna go actually, because and also for the education system probably they should, i'm I'm afraid governments or policymakers are too slow to think about how they want to deal with ChatGPT in education system or anywhere else, right? They should come up
mm-hmm,
with a solution where we have to embrace a new technology, but at the same time, we have to have some sort of controlled environment where it won't affect human or it won't replace human actually in the long term. Because otherwise,
I see.
we won't be as smart as now in future
I see.
probably if we just let it run like this.
Hmm. Very interesting. Someone asked a question in the comment section. Mahinur Saifa. Good evening, all. I have a question a question. Without studying at the university, business management, for example, can you just do Ausbildung in Germany and go back to Uzbekistan? Can I find a job easier?
Yeah,
So it's a very general question. Let's just like
it's
break it down. Answer the question of Ausbildung. What is
yeah,
Ausbildung, and if you know anything about it, and is it a good program uh, to pursue?
it yeah it like Germany has one of the this is one of the great systems in Germany, right? Ausbildung, which is
Yeah,
like, let's say, somehow equivalent to colleges we had. Like, you
yeah,
could learn some techniques, some skills. For example, you could be a
yes,
technician, electricians, and so on. This is
yeah,
Ausbildung, right? Which
yeah,
works perfectly in Germany, which means, for example, you are assigned to a company where you do Ausbildung. At the end, you get a job. You have a job, right? And you
mm.
earn a lot, right?
You
And
guaranteed a job.
Ausbildung, correct. You are almost guaranteed. You definitely find a job. Usually, we should also in Germany. But the problem is, like, I recently had a similar discussion with someone actually, one who was doing Ausbildung. He also want to go back to Uzbekistan. The
Mhm.
question is, how you wanna, what kind of equivalent degree you would get if you translate Ausbildung into Uzbek, for example, Uzbekistan, right? For example, and for example, Ausbildung, as I said, usually it's a practical skills. Is this thing about practical skills? But if you think about like electrician or technician, which means this is a similar thing, you can go back. But there are some jobs you may not be able to find a job in Uzbekistan, right? But
Yeah,
I would say, finding a job isn't a problem, but getting a good pay is something you have to think about if
mm,
you're doing house building.
mhm, mhm. I see. So that could be a challenging part, right? Yeah, you can go, you can be guaranteed some kind of job, but you're not guaranteed a really good paying job.
No, yeah,
Whether you be satisfied or not is not, something that's certain, right?
of course, yeah, because it's not a bachelor degree, right? It's not a master's
Yeah.
degree or bachelor degree. It doesn't give you a full university degree actually. And there are
Mm,
some house buildings, for example, let's say hotel management, right? Which is like,
yeah.
which I find maybe it would be interesting for people looking for house building or some IT related house building, because you could easily find a job in Uzbekistan and get a good payment because hospitality is a good, for example, where you can earn good money, or IT, for example, right? These are
Mhm.
the two areas I can think of for the moment, but there are so many house building programs, of course.
Very interesting. So another part of the question says, and go back to Uzbekistan and find a job. So is it a good idea to finish the school at Ausbildung and going back to Uzbekistan, or do you think it's better to stick to the job you get after finishing your school and then get some experience a little bit? What do you think?
I would say get some experience, right? Because the main idea of doing house building is just to practice it on something, and you apply this practice in your full-time job later, right? Of course, you're doing house building, you work as a let's say normal job, and
Yeah.
maybe partially, maybe sometimes you study, but I would say to get some experience, right? But of course,
Okay.
you have if you have to go back, yeah, you should go back, right?
I see. So hopefully you were able to get an answer, Mahinur. Hotel management, IT specializations could be good options. That's like I said, and really think about the job opportunities in Uzbekistan. See if it's worth going to Germany to study something that can give you a job, and then going back to Uzbekistan, being able to find a job is another part of the question. So yeah, it's a very personal question. I think hard to answer, but yeah, thanks for the answer. Let's keep moving. Hmm. Let's talk about your career and achievements, right? You currently work at, if we could go into a little bit more details, right? You don't have to go deep, but you work at Korn Ferry with a
Yeah,
digital product business focusing on AI powered KF Pay solution, which offers comprehensive data and analytics and many companies in many different
yeah.
countries, right? And there's so many things that we could break down. One is Korn Ferry, right? It's a global organization. It's a global, what do you call, consulting organization, right?
Consulting, correct? Consulting
We,
company, yeah.
and you guys work with clients to design organizational structure, roles, and responsibilities, and you guys help hire people and advise them on how to reward and motivate their workforce while developing
Yeah.
professionals, and etc. Right? So, what what's the value you guys are giving as a company? Is that like a staffing company, or is it like more like a, what do you call? Uh, I don't know. How do you define it in general? Let's
Yeah.
say.
So basically, like Korn Ferry started as an executive search company actually, and it has long years of experience. And nowadays, it turned into full service organizational consultancy, which means like we
Mm,
can do consulting in every aspect of employee cycle or organizational structure at companies, for example. Like
yeah.
like you mentioned, for example, organizational strategy, right? So everything to do with workers or employees, we do
Mhm.
consulting, right? So the
I see.
basically, our company helps to hire to all levels, like from the lowest level to the top executive level, and
Mm,
you know keep them engaged, help you to keep them engaged and keep them happy. Like that's why we do regular surveys, like
yeah.
employee surveys, and culture transformation, which is also making keeping your employees happy at the end, right? You just want to transform in the culture where everyone is happy and engaged, right?
Yeah.
And also we help the organizations to stay competitive by providing some data with regards to salaries and bonuses, just to put it in simple way, right? So we do benchmarking surveys. We call it,
Yeah.
let's call it salary surveys, meaning, for
Mhm.
example, if you're a company and you would like to know how much your competition or market is paying in Germany, then we
Mhm.
provide this data. And on the basis of data, if you're paying your employees too much or too high or too low, actually, there's also
Mhm.
consulting costs, for example, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and just to make sure that you're competitive, and also you have to also think about budget, right? If you're overpaying, you're wasting a lot of money. If you're underpaying, you lose your best talent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
basically, our company helps to hire, engage, and retain best talent, to put it in a
Mhm.
simple way. Yeah.
And who are the clients? Are they big organizations or smaller, like
Yeah.
medium businesses,
we
or what
we,
are they?
we work in different types of organizations, but our main clients are large organizations, and we work with middle-sized organizations as well, like in different sectors, right? For example, telecom, Volkswagen, for example, or Google, uh, um, uh, and the Alphabet parent company, for example, in different areas, of course, right? And not specifically in all areas, yeah, in the
Mhm.
different areas, like worldwide. Uh, and we have so I'm working in Germany office, for example, yeah, and we have many other offices as
Mhm.
well. So currently we have around 10, 11,000 people worldwide working in this company.
Mhm. Very interesting. It could be literally any, industry. Um, the
Right.
company could be operating in any industry, and the main value you guys are given is the consulting and employment and finding the right candidates for the roles and responsibilities and keeping them happy. I see. And what does it have to do with AI?
Yeah,
Um,
good question. We have, like, I'm currently I'm focusing on, let's say, benchmarking service
mhm,
section of business, and we have a
mhm,
platform. So our company built a platform which is AI based platform, and let's say interactive digital platform where, like, companies get access. Let's say for Germany you get access, and where you can do different simulations, you can draw different insights, right? There's some filters actually, depending on what you want, what kind of data you
yeah,
would like to insight you would like to draw, and it gives you this insights, right? So then it just calculates this on the background automatically, and it gives you saying, oh, here's an
yeah,
issue, this is a solution, for example, or you are paying too much or too low, and this is what you can do, right? So it's there's AI working on the background, so that's why we say AI powered.
hmm.
It's a huge
So
platform. It gives you so much, so much insights depending on what you want. Yeah.
mhm. I just wanted to ask a question, but I see another question popping up from Muqaddas Babayarba, a friend of mine. Are there any particular AI technologies that are particularly popular in business development in Germany, like ChatGPT or Notion, etc.?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. ChatGPT, Notion. Actually, I would say less. I use Notion, for example, but
Hmm.
ChatGPT, yes, it's everyone's talking about this and trying to use this, but on a personal level, I would say not a lot of companies are allowing uh, like employees are using it at work, right? Because they use it for
Hmm.
personal, maybe on the personal computer, someone.
Yeah.
But there's still, the companies are not picking up quick this ChatGPT quick enough, actually, or maybe they're waiting some regulations from governments because Italy banned this. Because the
Mm.
like one issue I would say, the ChatGPT, right? Because it's a commercial product, and if you feed your company data, or
Yeah.
let's take simply code writers, right? If you're writing on a project and a sensitive project, right, you just write and paste your code there, saying, ask, yeah, correct this, which means at the end, ChatGPT has a right that it has your code, right?
Yeah.
So it's sensitive, right? Which is bad for the company if they are, you working on an innovative project, right? Of course, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that ChatGPT OpenAI is going to announce that you're going to take advantage of this, but still, there's the problem is sharing company data. Yeah, so
Mm.
there's still regulations expected, actually, especially in Europe, how companies could use this. There is no clear guideline yet on this regard, and
Mhm.
everyone's trying to take advantage of leverage this. We are still learning. Like I'm also still learning. Uh,
Mhm.
but still on personal level, right? I'm not really applying this on the company level, or I'm not using company data, ask any questions from ChatGPT.
Mhm. Is it ethical to use ChatGPT for your work at the moment? Do you think it's ethical?
It depends, right? It's like the ethical ethics is, of course, is a good question. But
Mhm.
if you have a great tool, why not use it, right? For example, if I have, I could use this as a productivity booster for
Yeah.
my work, for example, right? If I can use it, if I'm allowed to use it at work, for example, because there are some, especially in sales or especially in marketing, right? There's like ChatGPT is great with content.
Mhm.
Why not they use it, right? And when it comes to ethics, actually, I would say I would look at from different perspective, right? Is it ethical actually to let ChatGPT run like this, run wild, I would say,
Mhm.
and start replacing or taking jobs, for example, at this pace? It will take some jobs in future. We cannot stop this uh, technology now, but it will create jobs at the same time. But the problem is the pace of creating jobs is slower than taking jobs. Like, Goldman Sachs
Mhm.
predicted 300 billion jobs will be affected by 2030, actually, which is huge, which is a lot, actually, right? And so many
Mhm. Yeah.
people will be out of jobs and unemployment rate will be high, right? Unless we take action quickly, we create enough jobs for these people who can earn their life, for example, right? Or earn their uh, for their daily life.
Mhm. Interesting. Uh, yeah, hopefully Nicolas was able to get an answer. Thanks for the answer, specification. And one more thing. So you guys represent, like as a company, right? Represent the corporations, not the employees, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, of course. We work for the companies. Yeah, so our
And you
clients are
guys help clients
corporations.
find employees as well, or it's not part of your responsibilities?
You mean what do you say? Fight?
Do you guys also help staffing? Like, do you guys also help
Yeah.
finding candidates for
Yes.
different roles? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Okay.
also help
Very.
with that. Yeah, this is one part of our job, right? Not my
Mhm.
job, but it's a part of our
Yeah.
one of our service. We help
Mhm.
staffing as well. Yeah,
I
because a
see.
lot of companies outsource their what we call RPO, so they outsource their recruitment to companies
Mhm.
like ours, for example, right?
I see. So, what's your position, and what do you do on a daily basis at the company?
So I'm a salesperson, and to put it in
Mhm.
sales in simple way. So my title is senior client relationship manager. So which means
Yeah.
I build relationships with clients, right? At the end, I sell, right? And this is job I have been doing like more than 11 years now. So
Oh
I
wow.
basically I sell my product of my company. I advise clients and so build relationship, long-term relationship with them, not like I sell one off, then like then let them sit, but also build relationship and provide some extra insights on top of products, because that's how you build relationship usually with clients. So then
Mhm.
they're happy with you, then they come back to you next time again. Yeah,
Mhm.
basically this is like, of course it's more complicated than this, but it just to put it in simple way.
Nice. Okay, so you represent your company and services. I see.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. How do you stay up to date on the industry knowledge? What do you do?
We, like I subscribed many like newsletters actually, which is related to my industry, and we have also a great platform at Korn Ferry, like internal platform where we get regular insights, and of course internet, right? So the main source I would say LinkedIn. Like, so I'm on LinkedIn uh, for simply two reasons. One is I would like to
Mhm.
build relationship with, or let's say generate leads or build a relationship with my clients,
Yeah.
and also stay up to date, because you get interestingly if you have a right if you filters actually for the subscription. So if you
Mhm.
subscribe to the right people, like let's say gurus
Mhm.
or the industry experts, then you get regular insights, which is nice, right? So you just open your feed, then you get relevant insights, for example.
Mhm. So, having worked for 11 years, you said at the same company or you switched
No,
companies?
I
No.
I worked in another company 10 years actually. So on my 10th years of anniversary, I decided to change to Korn Ferry. But the funny thing is, my in this like my work line has not changed. Meaning, I was doing a
Mhm.
compensation benchmarking
Yeah.
surveys, like meaning I was selling the survey in another company, and I'm doing the same similar service at this company. Yeah. And my
Mhm.
previous company, they did the benchmarking surveys for the consulting industry. So we were working firms like Accenture, Big Four, Bain, BCG, McKinsey, or IBM, and this kind of
Wow.
firms. And
Mhm.
we were doing like salary surveys for them, right? And for this
What service?
company, it's bigger. What is that?
What
Salary
kind of
survey.
service you?
Salary surveys, right? Like the providing data on the salaries and bonuses being paid by the market, for example. Yeah.
Mhm. Like you mentioned this term several times, benchmarking. Well, what does that mean? What is benchmarking?
So salary benchmarking or compensation benchmarking means, so the companies participate in a survey to understand what is the market rate. Let's take IBM for example, right? They have hundreds of thousands of employees. Like they don't want to
Yeah.
be wrong and they don't want to lose people or top talent, right? And also
Yeah.
they want to keep up with the market data. So meaning, for example, they want to know how their software developer being paid in the market, which means they
Right.
participate in such surveys. So let's say 100 IT companies participating in a survey, and where you get the
Mhm.
result, everyone submits their data about how much they're paying, and then you generate a report where you see the market median, for example, what is the max pay, minimum payment, and so on. So you get a lot of like percentiles and ranges where you have an idea, or I am, for example, then you will be able to pinpoint for your position saying, for software developer, maybe I am paying low. That's why they are not happy. That's why they are complaining. I have
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
make some changes. I have to increase the salaries for bonus part,
Yeah.
right? For
Mhm.
example.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
basically, this is what is benchmarking surveys about. Of course, there are some benchmarking surveys for different topics as well, but this is the biggest one, for example, for us
Mhm.
in terms of
I see.
surveys when it comes to the compensation benchmarking.
Yeah. Uh, when you talk about this, it seems like it's like an auditing company like Deloitte and what do you call it, KPMG that does auditing, but you guys do uh, like what do you call it? It's a similar line but different kind of service, right? It's more like
Right.
employment based
Yeah.
surveys and salaries and helping with staffing and etc. It's a
Yeah.
service for corporations. I'm assuming.
Correct. Yeah.
Most, yeah.
Because the for example, wherever you go, like if you like the
Mm,
pay, or let's say the
mhm.
salary and bonuses are the
Yeah.
main part of your intention to join this company and to work for this company and to get motivated, right? The money is the
Yeah.
main motivation anywhere you go. The culture and everything, career steps comes later. It's part of the total rewards package. So that's
Very
why
interesting.
companies are, have to stay up to date on how, if they are paying low
Mhm.
or high,
Mhm.
for example. That's why this,
Determines
if you,
loyalty
yeah,
of the
yes,
employees, right? Okay,
correct.
that's interesting. All right, awesome. Let's talk about your future. Is there room for growth? Are you planning to achieve any milestones this year or in the following 5 years or something?
Yeah.
What is your, projected future?
Of course, yeah. So yeah, I would like to, as always, I would like to achieve great things. So the good thing, and that's one of the reasons I joined this company. There's a huge room for growth, right? So then I
Yeah.
get, of course, one achievement would be, going through or
Mhm.
going higher on the career steps. Of course,
Mhm.
this is not the last level I am on. We
Mhm.
I like there are next levels and levels and levels which I would like to achieve.
Yeah.
And there are also other achievements, like there are things I would like to learn and master, for example, right, which is
Mhm.
related to my job, and
Yeah.
also on personal level as well. So I have some plans and intentions to achieve, of course,
Mm,
for future. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Interesting. But you want to stick to the same industry and to the same role pretty much, right?
Uh, I would like to
Yeah.
stick to sales, I would say, but the
Yeah.
industry I'm in, I think it's like I have gained enough, I think, good experience, and
Mhm.
but if I have to change, which I tried actually, which I
Yeah.
wanted, I would say, I would change to IT industry, right? Maybe in similar role, sales actually, but IT
Mhm.
or SaaS company and so on. This is something because I'm always fan of technology, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I try to stay up to date. It would be
Mhm.
interesting, but still, HR industry from logical point of view, or from the, let's say, risks. If you calculate the risks,
Mhm.
probability of me being high achiever in HR industry is higher than me being achiever in IT, probably for the moment. Yeah.
Mhm. Very interesting. And you think your skills are transferable to IT industry?
Yeah, I mean the sales is always transferable, right? Because because I'm selling the product at the end, right? Because, like, for
Mhm.
example, I'm selling a SaaS product now, subscription based
Mhm.
AI product, which I didn't know much about before I joined. When I joined, I got trained, I learned about this product. Now I'm selling this product, right? And if I join, for example, Amazon, I'm sure I can sell cloud services, for example, or Google. I'm sure I can sell their SaaS products as well, right? So the skills are good. That's a good thing about sales, right? It's always transferable. But the
Yeah.
question is, like, usually when you talk to recruiters, because I work with a lot of HRs, one question is like, some industries, unfortunately, this shouldn't be the case. They ask the industry experience. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
as long as your skills are transferable, this should not be the case, right? Because I can sell that product as well. Why you
Mhm.
need industry experience? You should not have. Of course, there are some jobs you definitely need that, but for jobs like marketing and sales, it just, you doing your job, but the product is different.
Mhm. I see. Uh, if you had a choice, like you have two options, right? To pick one, attitude or mindset, and skill or experience. Which one would you choose? Which scale would you choose?
I would
Attitude
say
and mindset.
mindset.
Skills?
Yeah,
Mindset. Yeah,
I would say
I see.
mindset, because mindset is the most important actually. Because skill, you can gain skills, you can gain experience actually, as long
Mhm.
as you have the right mindset. Because the mindset where you make you keep going.
Mhm.
I mean, the
Mhm.
right
Very interesting.
mindset.
Especially when it comes to sales, I guess mindset is probably more important than
Correct.
uh,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
technical skills and everything, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When
But
it
at
comes
the
to like
beginning, yeah.
career path, I feel like maybe skill set it could be more important, such as like what programming or I don't know finance or other specialties, right? But when it
Yeah.
comes to sales, I feel like mindset is probably the most
Of course.
important.
Yeah. Like, why I said mindset. It's good you mentioned about sales, like this related to sales, because at the beginning I mentioned this job is like, it's stressful for a lot of people actually, because,
Mhm.
like, for example, taking yes or taking no as a simple part of your job is also mindset, right? If you take it,
Mhm.
oh, I got rejected actually, because our human nature doesn't, we don't like rejections. We hate
Mhm.
rejections, right? But taking
Mhm.
this as a normal part of your job is a mindset actually.
Mhm.
Otherwise, if
Mhm.
you have this mindset, then you can succeed in sales. Otherwise, it's tough.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Especially, yeah, when it comes to sales, like being emotionally stable and
Correct.
taking no as an answer and like being persistent, as you mentioned earlier, is probably super
Yeah.
important. And your argument about mindset is pretty relevant here. And okay, we talked about your academic journey. We talked about your career and what you've done so far, right? Of course, we could continue for another hour, but we would like to discover, we'd like to find out about your experience abroad, like your life experience abroad in general, your
Yeah.
social life, and etc. Right? Did your life change when you moved to Germany?
Oh, good question. Yes, I mean, if you move brought, of course, your life change, right? In a good
Yeah.
and bad way, right? And of course, I
Yeah.
achieved a lot, and I studied here from academic and
Mhm.
life perspective, and also work perspective. I'm happy what I have achieved, of course, and I would like to. There are so many things I would like to achieve and learn, for example, right? Of course, there are
Yeah.
always pros and cons, right? So, I mean, the main thing is I don't regret, right? So this is
Yeah.
this is the yeah, good thing.
Very interesting. Someone dropped a question in the comment section. Karamatullah, Khaid Baif. You mentioned the program. I don't know how to pronounce it the right way. Ausbildung, right?
Possible.
Is it what it is? Ausbildung, yeah. If most German people do Ausbildung, does it mean that universities are not popular? Are there any incentives for people to go to university over Ausbildung? And it continues here. Is Ausbildung open for foreigners?
Yeah. Let's start with the second question. Yes, it's open
Yeah.
for foreigners. Actually, you can, especially now. When I came to Germany, it was not open. I think they opened like a few years ago, which you
Mhm.
can take advantage of now, and
Yeah.
until they close. So there's incentive, of course, right? Because you're comparing between, let's say, uh, between let's say Volkswagen and Porsche car, for example, right? Because there are different price points. So for house building, you get less paid, a lot less paid versus the university degree, for example, right?
Hmm.
Because and also career steps. Your career steps from house building would be slower, and
Hmm.
also there's a limit. Even you could do hotel management, but I don't know if you are able to go to the top with house building. At some point, probably you have to get some sort of degree. Yeah, there are
Hmm.
limitations. Of course, in Germany, this is just taken as an opportunity. So then everyone, like, this
Hmm.
is a good thing about German society because they want to care for everyone, right? Because
Social.
universities, if you can go universities, that's great. If you would like to sacrifice some hard work, yes, go
Yeah.
to university. If you
Mm.
think you don't want to read, and if you think you cannot succeed at university, Ausbildung is for you. Or because some people
Mm.
take this really, as a passion, because you might have a passion to be an
Mm.
electrician, for example, right? Or mechanic, right? Which you can do as a Ausbildung, right?
Mm.
It depends on the perspective. But of course, to answer your question in short, no, they're not incentivized to go to to take Ausbildung instead of university, and universities are very popular in Germany.
Mm. Mm. Interesting. So, if you'd like to look at your, career journey, like in the long run, you want to achieve more and faster, it sounds like universities are a better option. But if you want to, get going real quick and find a job and get paid, faster and maybe not a lot, then I think Ausbildung is a better option. Is that what it is? Is it a good paraphrase?
Yeah, I would say so. And also for some
Yeah.
people, right? Because especially, if you look at uh, some people maybe comfortable with not taking risk, a lot of risk, right? Because if you go
Right.
to universities, and if you look at the jobs you can get after university, you have to take
Hmm.
some risks at some point, right? And you have to interact with a lot of people, and some
Yeah.
people may be happy with, maybe not moving to big cities, maybe just want to stay where they are, where they can do house building,
Mm.
because you can do house
Yeah.
building anywhere. And for
Yeah.
universities, you have to go to some cities to study, for example, right? And
Mm.
as I said, it depends on what you would like to achieve from your life. And house building is taken as a plan B, I would say, for Germans. And plan A is, of course, going to universities. And plan B, if it doesn't work, there's always house building, which is guaranteed for you to have a job, stable job, and payment.
Mm-hmm. I see. Awesome. Wow, that's very interesting. So Plan A should be going to universities, and Plan B should be hospitaling. I see, and it's available, accessible for foreigners as well,
Yes.
and people from Uzbekistan could take advantage of
Yeah,
this program.
for the
I
moment.
see.
Yeah. I don't know if I hope they
Mm.
won't close it, but they opened a
Cool.
few years ago. So nowadays
Mm.
it's open.
I see. Okay, thank you so much for the question, Karamatullah, and for the answer as well, Shalia. Let's keep going. What are some good changes that have happened or happening in Uzbekistan?
Uh, of
Do
course,
you go
there.
back often?
Yeah, we go back almost every year. Yeah.
Do
So
you
one
stay
thing
in
actually
touch?
is yeah,
Yeah.
one thing I have noticed actually, let's say, I mean, I'm looking at from the economics perspective. Of course, we can also talk about politics, which is also which opened up and it's going, it's great. But also looking at the economics perspective, I see a lot of economic activities actually being encouraged actually on
Mhm.
different levels, right? If you look at
Yeah.
like every year I go, and that's a maybe also good thing. Like when I can also see from different perspective, I see a lot of businesses being opened. Actually, people are more active, I would say, than before. They are taking more risks. They're taking, they would like to build something, right? So they are
Yeah.
like entrepreneur, like building business is, I would say, easier, and people are probably they are taking advantage of this, right? And it's good, it's good for, then at the end, we have more active economics, for example, right?
Mhm.
And of
Mhm.
course there are a lot of work should be done, but I think we
Mhm.
are in the right direction.
Mhm. I see. I see. As an economist, right? Yeah, that was your comment as an economist. So there's some good things that are being, the good actions that are being taken by the government, but there's more room for growth. What would be your one or two pieces of advice for the government to do in order to, maybe, uh, get better results in
I would
terms of
say,
economy?
there's always basics, right? And there should be always
Yeah.
basic. If you look at how Japan, built up
Mhm.
something from scratch,
Yeah.
they invested in talent, right?
Hmm.
So they invested
Yeah.
in like on the education, and
Yeah.
they trained and they sent their people abroad and to learn, and they come back and build something, right? I would
Yeah.
say this should be the priority. For example, look at the schools, look at universities. Then you have to, for example, you have to have more incentives actually. People from, of course we have, that's a good thing that our people actually, they would like, our young generation, they would like to study. Yeah, they always try to go to universities, and we have more universities open, that's great. But
Mhm.
investing in education is something actually, maybe I would say there should be higher priority.
Mhm.
Then at the end
Mhm.
you have, because we have a huge potential, right? We have, and if you have the talents at the end, and who can build great things, and that's how you achieve, yeah, that's how you achieve a great economic, for example,
Mhm.
result. Yeah.
Mhm. Interesting. So more incentives from the government side,
Yeah, and also in infrastructure, I would say, for education system. Yeah.
infrastructure and education system. Okay, awesome. Uh, can Uzbekistan become like Germany in terms of its economic and political environment at
Yeah,
some point?
definitely. And
Is it?
any country can do, yeah, definitely, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's at the end, the basics of any economic achievement or anything is people, right? So if you have the right talent, because any company, like let's look at as an example, a company, why companies could achieve something, because they have the right talent. They could
Mhm.
build
Yeah.
a team who could build something great.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Like, that's how you run the economics as well, right? That's how you
True.
run the things on the micro and macroeconomics level as
Yeah.
well. You need to have a right talent and team who could make changes, for example, who could build great stuff, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Very interesting, and I didn't know it was going to turn into this, this conversation, like right talent. Like you turned it into your own subject, which is great. Would you be willing or open to helping out finding right talent for the government of Uzbekistan if you had a chance?
Yeah,
If you were
definitely,
offered that
definitely.
opportunity? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We have like currently, like Korn Ferry does not have office in Uzbekistan, but currently my colleagues, for example, they are trying to build, let's say,
Mhm.
relationships with companies in Uzbekistan. At some point, we would
Yeah.
like to open our office in Uzbekistan as well, which means, for example, my company is already, like my colleagues already trying to help companies to find the right talent. And some of them are government companies actually, like they are trying to find the talent, for example, on executive level, other level, and also with other services as well. But I'm always open, for I'm always happy to help my country.
Interesting. Wow. Very interesting. So you guys could potentially support government agencies as well.
Yeah, we work with
Mhm.
them as well. Like
You
we
work
we
with
work
government.
with
Okay.
ministries. Like we have like practices, for example,
Mhm.
practice areas where ministries could do benefits as well, because that's how, like in some countries, we do services governments as well, because
Awesome.
they're, in ministries at the end they are similar to companies. You have to build a team, and you have to find the
Yeah.
talent, and also you have to motivate them, engage them, right? And also the
Yeah.
salary level, culture, and everything else, it comes down
Yeah.
to the management again. Yeah, company
Yeah.
management.
Absolutely. Very interesting. Awesome. Hopefully, someone maybe from the government would be watching it. Maybe will consider and reach out to you somehow at some point. You never know, right?
Yeah.
So, another question popped up in the comment section, right? Artur Baronov, do you have any tips on how someone from a tech IT background become more effective communicator? Um, it seems like the question refers to the idea of, like, a lot of IT professionals are not very much extroverts but more introverts, and they somehow maybe lack communication skills, and
Yeah.
just because they work from home and they don't communicate as much as other professionals like salespeople do. So what would be your advice to Artur?
No, for like basics of learning something or trying to learn something is mindset again, right? So you
Yeah.
just, if you're willing to do it, you have to do it, and persistently, right? Because you can there are a lot of training programs are actually to help you to be effective communicator, right? You can search thousands or millions to come up, right? Which you can take
Mhm.
some of them, but at the end you have to practice in your life, right? If you take a Coursera or Udemy course actually on being effective communicator actually, or improve your communication skills, there are ways actually, techniques, but at the end you have to be able to use it at your
Mhm.
work or in your personal life. But if you
Mhm.
don't want to use this at the end, it's useless, right? And
Mhm.
I would say, like, first, like, mindset, and second, be persistent. And this you could apply this for any skills actually you would like to learn. Yeah.
Mhm.
And like I like, there are other ways as well, of course, but at the end it comes to you know to yourself in a personal level.
Yeah.
How do you feel actually, if you would like to, if you are communicating actually with other people, and also, like, also you have to analyze actually the way you're communicating actually, like from the different perspective, or ask your friend how you're communicating actually, and ask for feedback, right? For example, if you would like to improve on what you have and what you learned.
Mhm. Yeah, I see. So having the right mindset and being persistent and actually really wanting it, actually, if you really have to want it to improve your skills, right? Communication skills, and
Yeah.
having peer reviews is always helpful. I hear this advice from a lot of people. Find a friend who may be a little better than you in terms of the way they communicate, maybe more effective than you, right? So doing a peer review, like reflecting back on each other and giving comments and stuff, right?
Yeah.
What's the right mindset? We keep saying the right mindset. What would be the right mindset?
No,
What
I mean,
is
like it's just willing to do this, like willingness, like let's call this
willingness?
willingness.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just
I
like,
see.
because if you want to do it, like you have to want this from your heart, right? And
Mm,
it shouldn't be something actually you hate, or you which makes you, or which change,
yeah.
or which where you have to make a lot of sacrifice. You should not do that. If you always weigh the, pros and cons, for example, because for some people actually this is the way it could be the way it is actually, because you should not, if you're naturally like this, and maybe some things you might not want to change. Of course, you can act like that. There are a lot of people who's great at acting,
Yeah.
and they use the skills, and at the end they might be introvert or extrovert, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But at the end, like I would say, we should always stay genuine, right? Authentic.
Hmm.
Like when it comes to to ourselves, or talking to our friends or family. I mean, we should not change much. Of course, for jobs, sometimes you have to do it. Like, you have to change. You have
Hmm.
to improve your communications or other things, right? But also, improving communication is not a bad thing. But I was just talking in general because there are some things which you don't
Hmm.
have to force yourself. But the communication is always good because it brings you to a lot of places.
Yeah, absolutely. Having this deep desire is the number one step, and maybe there's some books by Dale Carnegie that you may want to read. I guess, right? How to be effective in terms of your communication
Yeah,
skills and etc.
uh,
There are many
definitely.
ways to improve your
But not too
communication.
much. Yeah, I would not
Yeah.
recommend anyone actually. Like, there are some people like crazy about motivational books, and this is like when I go to
Mm,
Uzbekistan, I sense some actually, I talk to some young people actually. They
mm,
come to me and they
mm,
talk about this book, that book, and they read a lot of motivation book. But it's bad actually. It's not. You should not read a lot of motivational books, actual inspirational books. Even people who
mm,
wrote that actually, I don't think they all of them follow. There's them, and I'm not saying they are bad, but the problem is they're like, they give you like upbeat actually. They give you boost for short period. And you read the book and you want to achieve something. You just immediately start acting, and you want to, if you wanted to start business, you start that without thinking about risk and so on and so on. But then if you fail, then you feel bad. And this dopamine actually, it doesn't last long, unfortunately.
yeah.
And if you keep doing this, if you read 10 books and you get motivated 10 times, at the end you lose
Mm,
interest in everything, right?
mm,
And that's why you have to be selective about what you would like to read. Of course, read motivational books, but read good ones, right? Which gives you real life practice, not like saying obvious thing, and not like
mm,
something that, yeah, you can earn 100K next year, next day, for example. In order to do that, you have to earn, $1,000 per day. It's obvious thing, but how do you want to achieve this, right? This kind of motivational things are useless usually, but the
mm,
pick up practical ones, but not too much, right? It just too much dopamine is also bad.
mm, mm. I see. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of programs and things that are popping up. Especially, I see it as a trend. As also in Uzbekistan, it started probably in the West first, and then getting this
Yeah,
dopamine boost and like yeah. But I agree. Going back to your initial argument, which is like having the right mindset, having the wide outlook to the world, and also being persistently like wanting and really taking action towards it will definitely help you. I guess. Hopefully the answer wasn't too general. Artur, hope you were able to get an answer. But yeah, keep searching. Thanks for the question. And
happy to chat, Arthur. If you would like to chat later, I'm happy to chat about this topic and other topics. Or Arthur or anyone else, if you'd like to reach out to me on LinkedIn
awesome.
or on my email.
Yeah, absolutely. We do appreciate it. All right. I feel like we've already invested hour and almost half hour and a half hour and a half
Yeah,
in this interview. I'd like to maybe wrap it up within the next 5 to 10 minutes. I'd like to ask last questions. A little bit too general. What is your advice to young members of the Uzbek diaspora community? What do they have to do in order to be successful? If you could give some tips.
yeah, yeah. We already talked about mindset and so on, but I would say continuous learning is something like not only young generation or anyone can leverage in their life. Because one thing is like when you stop learning, that's where then you just stop growing actually. And it doesn't matter what your age is, then you should always continue learning, right? Especially with ChatGPT. Think about, for example, as a software developer, if you saw, or marketing or copywriter actually, which means like you're afraid your AI can do your job, which means companies can do not need 10 marketers, 10 copyright, they need one instead,
Yeah.
which means you have to learn new skills, right? So you always have to look out for learning new skills actually. At the end, you have to be flexible.
Hmm.
So then it will be from the career perspective or personal life. On the personal level, actually, it would be always good if you have some as a plan B.
Hmm.
Uh, so then you have less risks.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, awesome. So keep learning regardless of your age, because there's a lot of new trends coming up, right? And being up to
Yeah.
date is always helpful, and at least it brings you some sense of security in your life. And being
Yes.
flexible and adapting to new environments is also one of the good factors in becoming a more successful professional, regardless of your career journey, right?
Yeah.
Someone is asking, Savrinos Alimova, do you speak German too? And what other languages do you speak at work? German or English? Is English popular in Germany, in German corporate culture?
Yeah. I speak German. Yeah, I have to because I have 3 kids and they speak Uzbek, but sometimes we have to have discussions in German as well, and also in
Yeah.
daily life I have to use German. But at work, actually, I have been using English mainly because
Hmm.
we have to be an international company and corporate culture. I would say English is more popular than German, especially
I
if
see.
it's a foreign corporation. Actually, non-German corporations, the main language would be English, right? Like ours, for example, we communicate internally in English mainly. Of course, with colleagues in Germany, we speak in German. But if you have
Yeah.
meetings, meetups, then it's always in English, or we have materials in English. So it is for the corporate culture, it is in English.
Mhm. Okay.
I would say.
Uh,
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know because I have not seen other corporations yet. But this is my
mhm, mhm.
first initial impression.
Interesting. So your kids are grown up speaking mainly German, I guess. I'm assuming, right?
At school, but at home we require them to speak Uzbek. We have to speak Uzbek
Uzbek.
actually.
Are they
They have to
fluent?
communicate with us in Uzbek. What is that?
Hmm. Are they fluent in Uzbek or are they fluent in
Yeah.
German?
Yeah, but they speak with accent, right? So you feel that accent.
Well, at least they're able to speak Uzbek, right?
But
It's good
they
to it's
speak.
good not to
Yeah,
forget your roots and being able to
yeah,
speak the language. Awesome. And what would you recommend the UD members do if they're planning to move to Germany for school or for work? What are some general
yeah.
tips?
General tips for moving to Germany or any country are actually just plan properly accordingly. Yeah, because
Mhm.
like when you're young, especially, you hate planning. Actually, you like to take risks and you just rush to achieve something or to come to Germany or anywhere, for example, right? Without proper planning. And you may face some challenges or difficulties, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
first of all, plan properly, for example, right? Because you have to do some research about where you're going to study, what is it like, what is the life there, and how you're going to find your apartment, how you are, and what is the language spoken in that city. In Berlin, it's multicultural actually. International city, you can survive with English, but there are some cities you have to speak German, right? So you have to
Yeah.
do some research and planning before you come.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. So planning things ahead of time properly and doing some research on the language, the
Yeah,
culture, different rules the country may have, right? Is super important. Go
and
ahead.
also also establish maybe a contact with someone who's already studying or working in Germany, because there are some, of course, groups. I don't know if they have in LinkedIn, maybe on Facebook. There are some groups actually for Uzbek communities in Germany. So then you can always reach out to them because everyone is happy to help always.
Okay, perfect. So establishing contact with compatriots living in Germany would be very useful. I see. Name three books or podcasts that you think people should read or listen to in order to grow and build a good career and life for themselves. Whether it's a business book, whether it's a general,
Yeah.
subject book, whatever it is. Uh, what are maybe if you could name three books? If not, then like get one or two is fine as well.
Yeah. So there are some books actually, like there are some sales book like spin selling if you wanted to be a salesperson, and there are books like about negotiation, for example, which could you
Yeah.
could not only using sales, for example, or in different for in like from the generic like business books where everyone can use, like, there's a book like Atomic Habits, right? James Clear. Of course, I don't suggest to take all the advice there, because but you have to question some stuff there. But at the
Yeah.
end, I like the idea. You have to take small steps or be persistent. That's a
Mhm,
great
mhm.
idea, right? Or Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Again, it's a great book, but at the end, you have to be more practical, right? And you have to be more realistic about which ones you could use or you could take. If you are planning to start a business, there is a great book called Rework. I don't know. Probably a lot of people also read in Uzbekistan. Like
Call
it,
again.
Rework.
We work. Okay.
Jason Fried, by Jason Fried, and also there's also a great book that's called Why Some Ideas Survive and Others Die. This is also a great business
Mhm,
book about, they analyze some business cases, successful businesses versus the businesses who failed actually, and they're great use cases actually, more practical. And if you are into economics, or if you hate economics, there's a book called
Freakonomics.
Economics, and where it explains the economics in a simpler way actually, or interesting way actually, so that everyone can understand without
Mhm,
dealing with formulas or concepts.
mhm. Very interesting. Some of the books that you mentioned are familiar to me personally speaking. Atomic Habits, a really good book. It's a fundamental knowledge of like building your lifestyle in general, and
Yeah,
there's of course a lot of things that you can learn from the book. I totally agree. And never read We Work. I've definitely heard of it by Jason Fried, right? Is that what it is?
yeah, Jason
And
Fried, yeah.
why some ideas survive and why some die. I never heard of it, but very interesting. The title is already very intriguing. Would love to take a look at it as well. And Free Economics, I've definitely heard of it. And yeah, awesome. That's awesome. Any final thoughts that you might have that we might have missed? This will put an end to our conversation. If you want to, give advice or share anything that you like to share, feel free. It's really good.
We have like we touched a lot of topics actually, and the I mean, I don't know if I can, like, I'm happy to continue our conversation, but we are over time probably. But at the end, I find this. I mean, I really like the conversation actually. I mean, this is great. So then everyone, like, not only people who are watching this, but I can also learn, for example, right? Because talking
Mhm.
to or brainstorming to others, actually, you always have great ideas come up and so on. And I would good luck with your works, and I hope this will community to grow further, and I
Yeah.
hope we will have a lot more great uh, uh,
Mhm.
community members actually coming on stage who sharing their ideas and experience, right? And at the end, that's how our humans learn, right? We
Yeah.
humans, we share our experience and ideas and learning from each other. That's how we could achieve great things, right? So we should always communicate with each other and learn from each other, regardless of where we are, which level we are, what experience we have, because there's always someone actually, regardless of where they are, he or she might have a great idea you might have missed, or perspective actually you might have missed. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So without
Awesome.
judging, we should always be able to communicate with each other and learn from each other.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And being persistent, pursuing your goals, having a set of plans for the year, for the 5 years, or for a set of period of time. Make sure you always have plans, as
Yeah,
Shwalga
definitely.
mentions. Yeah. Some of the comments and some of the takeaways from our conversation. What you really value in Uzbek culture is Uzbeks are more sincere and genuine. So that would be a good general maybe advice for everyone who's watching us. Keep being sincere and genuine. I
Yeah,
would say, right? Don't lose this. When you go to the West, when you move to the West, you see the culture is more like individualistic and people are more self-concerned and
yeah,
there's less care about the surroundings. But as people from the Eastern culture, Uzbeks have this sense of community, sense of
correct.
unity. and we always try to help each other. And that's the main premise, the idea, and the premise of building this Uzbek diaspora community, right?
Yeah.
Network, connect, network, contribute. So you always connect and network with people, take some value, give some value, and then contribute back to the community. And we're social beings. We always prosper with
Definitely.
in communicating with others. We give value to other people, right? That's how we grow. Awesome. And practice makes your memory stronger. If you want to improve your memory, there's no easy way. There's no, easy tricks. You always have to practice it over and over again, so that, as they say, practice makes it perfect. Uh, yeah, and keep learning regardless of your age, whether you're 50 or 30, 25, doesn't matter, right? We have to keep learning, especially with the rate of progress, the AI and other technologies are, taking
Yeah.
over many industries. We have to keep up to date. We have to, keep learning, and it's our for our own security. The more knowledge we have, the more security we have in the world that we're living, right?
Yeah.
And being flexible and adapt to new environments, new trends that are coming up. You keep improving your skills, and your professional. You keep growing in your professional skills, and yeah, that's how you stay strong.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
again, some of the things you mentioned, establish before you move to a different country. We're assuming you're from Uzbekistan, right? It doesn't matter. Establish a point of contact, make friends in different countries, and find out about the world they live in, the culture and the education system, the work they're doing, right? Link up with them and talk to them. Do your own research. So negotiation skills are super important in sales, not only in sales but also in your personal life. It takes you a long way. Being able to negotiate, being able to deliver your, message to other people, being able to listen to other people are some of the important skills that we heard from Shwalagat today as a salesman, right? And some of the books that you may want to read: Atomic Habits, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, We Work, and Why Some Ideas Survive and Some Die, and Freakonomics. I definitely want to read this book called Freakonomics. It's been, suggested by a
Yeah.
lot of friends. So yeah, I would love to take a look at it.
Definitely.
And it's been a pleasure, to talk to you. Nowadays, it's not a surprise. You can find our Uzbek compatriots pretty much in every corner of the world, right? And
Yeah.
having lived the U.S. personally for over 10 years, it's always been interesting to find out how our community members are doing in other countries like Germany, like yourself,
Yeah.
right? And other European and Asian countries. And I can say your background is very unique. And it was a pleasure again. Thank you for sparing your time to share your very interesting story and valuable advice with our community members. And we'd love to stay in touch with you. For future collaboration and networking opportunities. Would love to, continue to bring our community together and support our compatriots in their journey, or at least bring some value to them. So stay tuned, and have a great rest of your weekend. And thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.